Giants 21, Browns 15. Welcome to Talking Giants, presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick. And it's sweet victory. It's the first victory pod of the year versus those damn Cleveland Browns. That good defense of the Cleveland Browns, that bad offense. Justin, it felt good. Our superstar wide receiver, Malik Nabers, basically won the game for them. I'm excited for many Victory Mondays where we're talking about Malik Nabers on the podcast. We're going to break it all down, Justin. Defensively, great game. We'll do all the Daniel Jones, his game. It feels good. And I was worried that we'd be going down a stretch of like, when's that first win coming?
Yeah, and it's here, man. So happy Victory Monday to all who celebrate, because it's sweet victory. If you're a podcast listener, if you're an audio listener, you know what I'm talking about. I feel good, man. that was good. That was fun. Those first half highlights are gonna be on replay all week, and I really do think that was the best first half of football, and arguably maybe the best half of football that the New York Giants have played since the Minnesota Vikings game and since that playoff game, back in late 2022 and early 2023. I really believe it. If it's not their best half of football, it's definitely their best first half of football. I feel good.
The Cardinals game, but yeah.
But I mean, even with that, that's a game where they're trailing and that they have to throw the ball. I mean, early on in the game, they got... Anyway, we're going to break it down. Really happy. I feel good. Even watching the 4 o'clock window and sitting home, I just felt like relieved. Like there was almost like a weight that was like off all of our shoulders. It was off my shoulders, but like, we did it, man. Got the win in the column, and now quick little turnaround Thursday Night Football against a Dallas Cowboy team that is maybe susceptible. Let's go out there and let's win some more games.
I mean, think about how it started too, right? You fumble the opening kickoff. The first play from scrimmage, you gave up a touchdown. And then on the second offensive drive of the game, Daniel Jones throws an interception on the first play in your own territory, and then gets the penalty eliminates that. But you're like, oh my god, because this Cleveland Browns defense is really good, right? So
yes.
And the Giants had a bad first 2 weeks, and the thing about playing the Browns is like you got to hope their offense gives you points because their defense is so good, right? But their offense actively loses them games, and then we spotted them 7. I'm like, oh no, this is going to get deadly. But credit to the Giants, credit to the Neighbors, Daniel Jones, that defense, they pulled through. Resiliency was the word Brian Daboll kept on saying in the post-game speech. So good stuff, man. I want to talk about Malik Nabers. First, I want to say this. We only do this minimum 2 times per year. The Giants get good and maybe make the playoffs, and we might ask you a couple more times. This is the first victory pod of the year. Tell a friend about Talking Giants. And I'm talking to you listeners right now. You guys are our family. You know how much we put into this. You guys enjoy the show. We enjoy that you guys enjoy the show and doing everything. It's very fun to do. It all works out for the season. And this is always like a big moment for us. The first win of the year is always feel special. So people wanna feel good. They want to hear about their team after the first win of the year. So I demand of you to tell a friend of the show. Hit those buttons, share link, copy link, send it to everybody. If you don't have any friends, just go give a homeless person $20 and tell him, hey, I will give you this if you listen and subscribe to Talking Giants. Subscribe. All right, Justin, let's talk about this game. Please, you'll be glad you did. It's so much fun that, I had a moment, Justin, thinking about Malik Nabers. And, this guy's going to have a really good career. He's a star. Undoubtedly, he's a superstar in the league. And I'm like, we've only seen the first 3 games. It's like, this is sick. This is the first Victory Monday where we're talking about Malik Nabers, winning a game for them. And, after the 100-yard game last week, he had 8 catches, 78 yards, 2 touchdowns on 12 targets. He had 2 runs for 4 yards, and 1 was a 4th down conversion, Justin.
Huge.
I mean, he's got 25 catches, 270 yards, and 3 touchdowns through 3 games. It's not just stats, right? It's not just stats and being happy. I mean, he had game-changing plays all over it, right? Here's the key plays from Malik Nabers. The fourth down conversion run. They scored a touchdown on that drive. A 3rd and 5 catch for 14 yards on a touchdown drive. The play that was my favorite was the 28-yard catch up the sideline where DJ's got pressure. He just throws it up to Neighbors, and he just rips the ball away from Martin Emerson, the cornerback. Just rips the ball away from him, right? A lesser receiver would have been able to maybe break that pass up or letting them be an interception, and then the Giants end up losing because of that. But he goes and does that. Then the 3rd and goal. He even said in his press conference when the ball comes out of DJ's hands, so he goes, like his reaction was like, because they asked if he thought he could go up and get it. Goes up, makes an acrobatic catch, turns his body, gets 2 feet down, bam. The 5-yard touchdown catch, which was a really nice play from DJ. And then what, Dable said was his favorite play was the pass breakup on the DJ, leak play where he throws, he gets hit he gets his hand hit, throws the ball up, and it's like, oh God, oh no. He goes in there and breaks it up. And he also had a big play where, DJ overthrew him on that slot fade. It's just, he's a real deal star. We felt it when they drafted him and then saw him in camp. We're like, man, he's just going to be a star. And it's like, we're not being delusional fans just hoping for your first round pick to be a star. It's like, no, it's very easy to see as a star. And I'm not even entertained by him being good in training camp. I'm waiting for the games. The games are here, man, and I'm fucking entertained.
And you know what the crazy thing is, Bobby? If you're watching Malik Neighbors for the first time, during the regular season, and you missed the draft and you missed the Giants offseason, maybe you're not me growing up as a fan, I wasn't an offseason guy. So I would be like, oh my God, this Malik Neighbors guy is a star. This guy's a stud. He's awesome. He's going to be great. Can I tell you something? That, we watched so many games of this guy, almost every single snap of him at LSU, at LSU, or especially during this past season, the last season that he had at LSU, just breaking down film and breaking down, the tape. We watched him over the summer and training camp. I feel like he's just getting started, man. I understand, this is a Jordan Ronan stat. Malik Neighbors is the first player in NFL history with 20 receptions and 3 receiving touchdowns in their first 3 games in NFL history. That's per ESPN stats and info. You see him, it's like, oh, this guy's awesome. And he is. And it's so fun. And it's awesome. But also, knowing his background, knowing what this guy can do, knowing that this guy is the fastest guy on the field, knowing that this guy's one of the strongest guys on the field, knowing that we haven't even seen that big breakaway catch yet, knowing that we haven't even seen that big deep catch yet, even though the slot fade maybe could have been the first one today. We haven't even seen that stuff. And that's the juice of Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors coming out of LSU, the big play stuff, that's what he was known for. And that's why you fall in love with him. And Bobby, we haven't even seen any of that stuff yet. So I honestly think that this superstar play that we've seen through the first 3 weeks of the season, 2 weeks, last 2 weeks, we're just scratching the surface here.
Oh yeah, it's easy for him. It is flat out easy for him. And here's where I was really, because I was actually looking at Wan'Dale 3rd down stuff, just to see, because it feels like Wan'Dale's targeted on 3rd down a lot, and he is. He's actually targeted more than Malik Neighbors, and I guess I can share both of their stats on 3rd downs through 3 games. But so Malik Neighbors on 3rd and 4th down, he has 11 targets, Justin, through 3 games. 11 targets on 3rd and 4th down. 10 catches, 140 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 plays of 20-plus yards, 8 for 11 conversions. One of them that wasn't led to the 4th down that he converted. And the only play that he did not catch was the drop against the Commanders, which is a fucking huge drop. But, it's money. This is why when the whole, remember we were mocking people on the draft stream, who's going to throw him the ball? Because, that's not why you don't draft a player. It's because you don't feel great about the QB spot. And it's this guy's QB proof. He's a legit wide receiver, and you've seen it. He 3rd down, you just throw to him, right? If you're feeling pressure, throw the ball to him, and he goes up and makes plays. And he's been able to do it consistently. He's going to continue to do it consistently. And he's gonna make a run at Rookie of the Year this year, Justin. He is. He's going to help keep the Giants in games, and hopefully they continue to win some more football games. And if they are going to win more football games, Malik Neighbors is going to be at the center of it. And that's without a doubt true. And he has been at the center of it the last 2 weeks. I will say, the thought that did, one of the secondary thoughts that ran through my brain today of being really happy with winning
is that shit, we really should be 2-1, and how different would the vibes be if we're 2-1 as opposed to 1-2. But you want to know what? Go out there, win Thursday night against Cowboys. Let's be 2-2. But also let's talk more about this game too.
Yeah, and trust me, I think we've all had that. Like, damn it, especially with, like you mentioned, the Cowboys losing. But you know what? If the Giants are a team that can win more games than not, then they need to overcome a week 2 loss. Hey, maybe the Vikings are just really freaking good. Some of the scoreboards over the weekend shocked me.
I know.
Let's talk about DJ, and then we can get into Wan'Dale and all that stuff, because I thought Wan'Dale made a lot of plays, but he got a little overshadowed because of Malik Neighbors. What do you think of Daniel Jones' game? Like, there were some really nice plays to Neighbors and Robinson. What I liked the most was his ability to avoid the rush, because there was pressure there, right? It wasn't debilitating pressure, and we'll talk about Thomas and what I think was his worst game since his rookie season. That hurts me to say because I was really looking forward to this matchup with Myles Garrett. But he avoided the rush really well. 1 sack, and there was some like plays. It's extending some time in the pocket, get the ball out. Avoiding the pressure. The second touchdown the Neighbors, to me, that ball was beautiful. Like, go back and I'll share the film of it when it comes out. But they're in the red zone, and they're in like a 2 deep red zone look, and they run slant flat to Neighbors and Wan'Dale, and it's not there at first. So he reads Grant Delpit, and Grant Delpit slams down on Theo Johnson, and DJ throws the ball with great anticipation over Delpit's head, and gets it in there. So you usually don't see stuff like that.
Well, even the first touchdown too, Bobby. Myles Garrett wallops him.
Oh yeah, he gets smacked. Now the ball's high, but he still got smacked.
Yeah, ball's high, but that's Malik Neighbors. Like, this is why you draft Malik Neighbors, go up and make a play, buddy. But he gets walloped. Myles Garrett hits him, and Malik Neighbors is able to get 2 feet down for that touchdown too. That's why you draft Malik Neighbors. So good throw by him to get the ball there. 2 touchdown throws. What I really loved, you said he extended some plays. I thought he was surgical. I thought he knew where to go with the ball. Hey, if Daniel Jones is going to be this a relatively mostly pre-snap quarterback, and still 69 to 70% of all NFL throws are made on your first read. Not every single throw and every single quarterback is going through their second, third, fourth reads on a play. So, but if Daniel Jones is going to be a quarterback that is known for pre-snap reads and kind of pre-deciding where you're going to go with the ball, he did a very good job with that today. 2.41 seconds was the third quickest time to throw of the weekend. His CPOE was very, very high. It was the highest of the season so far. I thought he did a good job of, we didn't attack deep down the field, but also not a lot of quarterbacks so far this year are attacking deep down the field. Defenses
he just can't hit a deep pass this year.
Yeah.
So that is this. I thought this was a good game for Daniel Jones, especially when you consider it's the Browns defense, right?
And the first half was phenomenal. But I will say, outside of, here's the issue though. There was 2 to 3 disaster plays, and none of them came back to bite the Giants. That interception,
they got lucky.
The interception of Theo Johnson didn't come back to bite you. Throwing it up to Malik Neighbors in the middle of the field when you're getting pressured in your own end zone. Neighbors knocks it down. That didn't come up to bite you. And I'm not even going to say the Neighbors 50-50 ball, because I'm willing to give Malik Neighbors that opportunity. But there were a couple disaster plays from this game that could have easily defined the game for the Browns in their own favor, and they didn't. And if they do define the game for the Browns, then we're talking about how Daniel Jones had a terrible game because of those mistakes.
Yeah. Like I will never apologize for getting lucky, especially the Giants have been on the flip side of that a lot. But like you said, they didn't have to pay for some crucial mistakes, right? Like the roughing the passer, hands the helmet. Like you're lucky that he hit your helmet. You're lucky that he roughed you, and then good job on Neighbors on the pass breakup. And again, like there's other imperfections that we could go through, and that's not what I don't think that's how you should judge quarterback play. It's like, all right, well, he has these 5 mistakes, but he did, look out on those disaster plays, and it was like, short average depth of target, quick stuff. I mean, my biggest worry is just there's been no accuracy on the deep ball at all this year. I think he's 2 of 10. One was of like a dig route right at 20 yards, and the other one was the Malik Neighbors play where he ripped the ball out of his the DB's hands in this game. So I know everyone wants to have like 100% perfect vibes off of a win, but they did thank God, lucked out at this because I was not ready to live in a world where we lost that way.
No.
I might have just quit this job if those mistakes came back to bite us.
I'm going to tell you something that I think you're going to, and I think and hope that you're going to be talking about on the film review a lot. And I think this was Daniel Jones's best friend in the first half, and I'm interested to see. I don't know if it was happening as much in the second half, and this may have been a difference between why the first half was so good and maybe the second half was so bad. I think pre-snap motion and motion at the snap, but I'll put it under the umbrella of pre-snap motion. I think pre-snap motion was Daniel Jones's best friend today, where that 3rd and 2 to Wan'Dale Robinson makes a great play. The ball was kind of thrown a little-ish behind the line of scrimmage. Wan'Dale Robinson goes in motion at that play. Daniel Jones is able to identify quick because there's pressure coming in his face. He's able to make a decision quick, get the ball out. Wan'Dale Robinson makes a guy miss consistently. First down, Giants. The second touchdown to Malik Neighbors, I think there's somebody going in motion at the snap again. And that, again, I think that is able to help Daniel Jones decipher, what am I seeing here on the defensive side of the ball? Help giving Daniel Jones some answers. Are they in zone? Are they in man? Are they going to bring pressure? Where am I going to go with the football? Because the Cleveland Browns and Jim Schwartz, you know that they're going to bring pressure if they're rushing 4 or if they're rushing 5 or 6 guys. And I think that pre-snap motion that we saw pretty consistently, especially throughout the first half, and in those the most successful plays that we saw the Giants have, saw that pre-snap motion, gave Daniel Jones some answers before the snap. So it's a great job by him by identifying that stuff, and great job by Brian Dable for calling it up to give Daniel Jones some answers too.
The Giants also threw out some tendency changers from the first 2 weeks to this week 3, right? Like, here's one that they did run more of like their end of 2022 quick games type of stuff that they found success with. Right, and that includes sending 5 out or 4 out. You know, you think the first 2 weeks of the season, how often were the tight ends kept the block, be under center?
It bugged me.
Like, I liked it in those, at least in the Commanders game, because the way they run the ball, and I think they should bring it back for the Dallas game, by the way. But like Theo was into block 26% of the time the first 2 weeks, 8% this game, right? Tight ends overall went from 18% or 33% to 18% blocking snaps. And most of that was Chris Manhertz when he's in, and you know that he's not a receiving threat. So you saw them do some of that. You know, Theo almost had the touchdown. They had the good screen game. Like, we talk about how the Giants suck at running screens. They got 4, plays for 46 yards on their screen plays today, so they were able to do some good stuff. Yeah. And you know what feels good about a victory, Justin?
You want to know what I try to be? A fan that never loses.
I try to be a fan that never loses, and this week, I never lost, and guess what I'm going to do right now? I'm going to open up a Corona, because you know what I try to be? A fan that never loses. Here's what I mean. The Giants don't win every single week, except for this week, but even when they lose, I'm still loving the game. I still got passion. I'm still loving football, because whether it's a big deep ball or some 3rd and short conversions, some of those today, or just a great tailgate out in the parking lot, there's always something to cheer for. And the best beer to pair with awesome moments, Corona. Corona is all about finding the maximum of joy with every moment of the game, win or lose, at home or on the road. It's a perfect beer to go along with watching football and all the moments that come with it. So cheers to everyone who loves the game beyond the scoreboard. Corona, for the fans who never lose. Get yours at ordercorona.com. For 21 plus, relax responsibly. Corona Extra Beer, imported by Crown Imports, Chicago, Illinois. You'll be glad you did.
And also
just find it at the gas station. And they're going to be taking care of our tailgates this week, right?
Yes,
Can't
please.
lose with a great tailgate.
Please, I mean, let's set the tone. Let's set the tone with the good tailgate. I'm a firm believer. Nikki Snacks and I, as the two presidents and captains of the L16 Talking Giants tailgate. I never appointed any presidents or captains. I guess I just decided that.
We beat Kadarius Toney, by the way, speaking of president.
We are firm believers in how you tailgate does very much represent how the team is going to play. Now we set a good tone outside, always, no matter what. So help us set a good tone on Thursday. Shop.johnwaymedia.com. If you click on football, it's the first thing that comes up, and also the link of our tailgates to the tickets to our tailgates is in the description. Candlewick Diner. You ever heard of them? You love them. They're going to be catering. There's going to be a bunch of Corona. And we've been telling you for years that $50 is a steal for the tailgate prices. Well, they're down to $25. You get food, you get alcohol. It's going to be a lot of fun. So Thursday Night Football, get there early. Come hang out with us. $25 tickets. Boom. L16 on the curb. Link is in the description. You'll be glad you did.
I just tweeted the Giants are 1-0 in games against Kadarius Toney and Gary Brightwell. Then I saw a picture. Did you see that Skylar Thompson's whole ass was out today?
Nope.
Or Tim Boyle? I don't know. Whatever Dolphins quarterback did. I've never seen someone's ass get pulled out like that.
DeMarco Murray, remember him a couple years ago? Was it worse than that?
No, yeah, this is way worse.
Oh, God, and that was bad.
Yeah, it's way worse. Anyways. Yeah, but solid game for Daniel Jones. And again, especially when you consider playing against Myles Garrett and those Cleveland Browns. We'll talk about the O-line.
Browns defense is good.
Yeah, really good. I've been in love with it for a while. I do want to shout out Wan'Dale.
Hell yeah.
For the plays that because Malik Neighbors had this great game and the defense did what they did, you may not remember, but he had some big plays in this game, right?
Huge.
They had a penalty that put them behind the sticks. 2nd and 16, a 2nd and 16. He catches a 4-yard pass, breaks it, 20-yard play, right? That's game changing right there. You mentioned it before. 3rd and 2, DJ throws the ball 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage, doesn't have much momentum, breaks the tackle, right? That was at their own 15 on a touchdown drive. They get the ball after the Malik Neighbors or Brian Burns strip sack. Neighbors gets a nice play. They throw it to him. He gets, 15 yards and puts them at 1st and goal at the end of the half. So, it was 7 catches, 61 yards on 8 targets. Now, the one non-catch drives me nuts because it's this is why you don't draft a guy with 1 percentile arm length.
Because he's so small.
But for who he is, he's done a good job this year. And you see he's going to have a lot of catches. Isn't going to have, he's going to average less than 10 yards per catch. But he has done his job, I feel like, pretty damn well in this offense. And the main thing is, all right, if you're going to be that guy, if you're going to be that size and be the slot option, you need to break tackles, and that's what he did today.
He's been making the first guy miss. I think that's been a consistent theme, or especially over the last 2 weeks. So I felt this kind of setting up in the preseason where you saw some of the plays that he made in that Texans game. And if the offensive line is going to give Daniel Jones time on these 2nd downs and these 3rd downs, because that's where Wan'Dale Robinson has really made his money. It hasn't even been like this manufactured stuff. The average depth of target's been low.
Just choice routes all day.
The average depth of target, it's been low, but it's not like force feeding Wan'Dale Robinson. Wan'Dale Robinson is getting open. But I honestly do think
Cole Beasley's type of route tree.
He is the one that is benefiting the most from the offensive line giving more time, because I feel like those are kinds of the plays that are kind of like in that short part of the field where maybe he needs a second to shimmy, break loose. You see some of these throws where Jones is holding onto the ball for feels like a little longer than 2 seconds, and it gets to the point where that pocket could start collapsing, but Wan'Dale Robinson's there, and he's a chain mover, man. He's a chain mover, and he's coming up with some big plays and some big moments and consistently making that first guy miss. This offense right now, it feels like it's Malik Neighbors, Wan'Dale Robinson, or a running back screen game over the last 2 weeks, and I know it can evolve. I know that when Jalen Hyatt's on the field, I know he can be a weapon. Darius Slayton, we know that Darius Slayton is a good receiver, so I feel like this offense can evolve into more than what it is right now, besides just Robinson, Neighbors, and a screen pass out of the backfield. So I'm excited to see if that evolution does take place.
Yeah, he's been their 3rd down guy, right? They've on 30 plays where the ball's been thrown on 3rd down this year, he has 13 of those targets. And 7 catches, 59 yards. So not the best conversion on it, not like Malik Neighbors' numbers, but he's done a solid job. Let's talk about the offensive line. I was really looking forward to this game because I think Myles Garrett's the best player in the NFL. And you remember the rookie year, Andrew Thomas versus Myles Garrett, where Garrett was coming off of COVID, and Thomas did well that game. But I went back and watched those snaps. I was like, oh man, Thomas is really just a different player, right? He's just so much of a different player, even though he had a good game in that matchup. I thought it was Thomas's worst game since the Cardinals game as a rookie. Right, the unofficial pressure stats was 3 QB hits and 5 total pressures, or 5 pressures, meaning 8 plays. So I wish someone could. I wanted to ask one of the reporters to ask Thomas about this, but didn't get to. It's like how do you prep for a guy like Myles Garrett? Because what a lot of Andrew Thomas's game is like inviting the power. But Myles Garrett is the best at using speed and power all in one, and that's why he's the best defensive player in the NFL. And Garrett got him. Now, luckily, there wasn't there was no sacks allowed, right? Yeah, like the offensive line didn't allow a single sack. The one sack that they gave up, that was given up, was a full slide where DJ had to get the ball out and he didn't. But I'm now looking forward to playing the Browns in 4 years, or I hope we have the same division standings next year and we could play them, because I want the rematch of Thomas versus Myles Garrett.
I mean, Bobby, I feel like in years past, where if we said that Andrew Thomas had a bad game, and it's the worst game that Andrew Thomas has had in years, we haven't said that. But if we were to say that, wouldn't you feel like we would lose the game? Wouldn't you feel like the offense would barely be able to function? Bobby, we're talking about a first half where the Giants scored 3 touchdowns. After they didn't have their first possession because special teams fumbled it and then immediately gave up 7 points. So, scored 3 touchdowns in the first half. What we feel like is the best first half of Giants offensive football since the Minnesota Vikings playoff game. And this is all while Andrew Thomas is having the worst game of his career since 2020 in his rookie year. That's how I feel good. That's how I know that I'm feeling good about the rest of this offensive line. Yeah. Because if Andrew Thomas is having the worst game, then I'm imagining that the rest of the 4 starters are also having disaster games, and that just wasn't the case.
No, and again, I'm not sitting here saying they individually, and I obviously have to watch the film, but like Eleanor gave some bad plays. Like they weren't. But here's you're
going to have bad plays against the Cleveland Browns.
Exactly. This is where it's different than years past. It's like, okay, they've had some bad plays. They don't have disaster plays. Like there was no disaster plays from the offensive line, right? Or where it's like 3 guys are losing at once, or 1 guy's losing in the first half second of the snap.
Yes.
And you're running for your life. Like, that's just not happening. They're working very well together, not making mistakes. Where there's you're letting free rushers go where you're not supposed to. So they're doing a really good job in doing that. I also think the Browns were just selling out a little bit versus the run. I really do. Maybe this is just dumb luck, but I think the Browns actually, what I think, put together a good game plan, but the Giants just played differently than what they did the last couple weeks, where the Browns were selling out versus the run, getting downhill, and then they did stop the run outside that last Singletary play.
Right.
Which is basically the Browns' MO. It's like if you try to run between the tackles, this shit ain't going to happen. But they will get some runs up out on the edges, and they're vulnerable on jet sweeps. Talk about it on the preview pod. That's what happened, right? They had the jet sweeps, and then they had the long, run on the pitch at the end of the game.
They had some swing passes, too, which I feel like those swing passes are an extension of the run game. I think Tyron Tracy benefited from 2 of those swing passes. So, yeah, I mean, the great job by I think Brian Daboll with the pre-snap motion like I talked about earlier, giving Daniel Jones some answers and some looks pre-snap and really utilizing that a ton. You saw that there was a ton of plays where the Giants were up against the play clock and they were trying to snap the ball. And that usually what happens with a lot of these offenses that run motion is that there's things that need to happen pre-snap. And then the screens and the swing passes, again, just giving Daniel Jones some answers in the face of pressure to get rid of the ball and knowing where to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So credit on that. Like, again, this is, we said in the preview pod, I was hoping for, if this game was like just a below average offensive line performance, like not taking into account opponent and stuff, I would take that as a win after the first 2 weeks and then playing the Browns.
That's a win.
Front. Here's the one negative thing before we talk about the defense. Devin Singletary, hold on to the ball.
It's crazy, man.
You argue, like, I talk about the little plays that you go back and watch and wins, and it's like you don't win without these. That could have been won last week against the Commanders, right? There's a lot of things that go into a loss, not one play. But if you don't have your one bad play, there's a chance the Giants end up winning that game, and they're 2-1 right now. And that could have been the difference in this game. Like, stop fumbling the ball. I saw people looking up his fumble stats, and they are really bad. I think he's has the most fumbles in the NFL since he was drafted in 2019. You can't do that, man. Like, it's fumbling is one of the worst things I feel like to analyze, because it's just like, stop. Just stop.
It's like with
doing
drops.
That.
It's like with drops and wide receiver drops.
Yeah, he's had this is his 16th fumble in his career. He only had one last year. Then he had 3, 5, 1, and 4 the years before.
Well, what makes it worse too is that Devin Singletary is doing this on drive. The first drive out of the second half, and I feel like the Giants have not been a good first quarter team. They have not been a good team that gets off the fast starts, and then even like there's an opportunity against the Commanders last week where the Giants have a lead, and then they could expand upon that lead, and then it was the same thing here where the score was 21-7, and the Giants force a punt for the Browns, and then there's a 17-yard play to Daniel Bellinger on 1st and 10. I'm like, holy shit, this is just going to keep going. We're not going to be conservative. And then there's a 4-yard pass to Malik Neighbors. So I was like, okay, a successful first down play. Let's keep it going. 2nd and 6, Devin Singletary fumble on the Giants' 39-yard line when you're looking across the 50-yard line. And you make this a 24-7 game or a 28-7 game. The game is basically over in the third quarter. Instead, that fumble kind of kept them around, and then the Giants stutter on offense the whole second half. Yeah, man, it's not great, and that's the analysis. It's not great. Get Tiki Barber in here. Get Tiki Barber, 9:30 a.m.
Tiki's a friend of the show. Let's tweet at him, Instagram comment on him, like tell Devin Singletary to stop fumbling the ball.
Quest Diagnostics Training Center, Tiki Barber, 10:30 a.m. Meet Devin Singletary on the 40-yard line before you got to go to Evan and Tiki at 2:30 in the afternoon. Let's
stop fumbling the damn ball.
Let's do that. Let's make that meeting happen.
Part of me wished you would have scored at the end just because I want the stats. I like stat stuffing, but it was the right decision.
It was the right decision. I also would have loved to get close to 28 points.
Yeah, I would have liked that too. And if we make the field goal, it would have been a 30-point game. Instead, you guys had to go and F it up. Good job, offense.
Yeah.
Justin, let's talk about the defense. Before that, why don't you talk to us about something?
I want to ask you one more question on the offense before, but I do want to talk about Captain Morgan.
Why don't you talk about something and then you can ask me the question? That's called a teaser in the business.
In the biz.
Suck it.
Let's talk to you about Captain Morgan, this episode, this game recap episode. It's the first episode that Captain Morgan's been part of where we're talking about a Giants regular season win. Get excited. This episode is brought to you by Captain Morgan, the official spice rum sponsor of the NFL. This NFL season, you need the right players in the game, and sometimes you just got to spice some things up. Same goes for your drinks, and same goes for Brian Dable's game plan against the Cleveland Browns. Oh, even Shane Bowen spiced some things up too. We're talking about Brian Dable spiced some things up. No, he had Deshaun Watson saying, "I was not sure what was happening. We were not expecting any of that. Ha, take that." When it gets bland, try Captain Morgan Original Spice Rum. It's delicious and crisp, perfect for game day with friends. Spice it up. Get more like Wink Martindale. Visit CaptainMorgan.com to find Captain near you. Please drink responsibly. Captain Morgan Original Spice Rum, 35% alcohol by volume. Captain Morgan Rum Company in New York. New York, you'll be glad you did. I bet you Wink Martindale enjoys Captain Morgan or 2 or 3. Here's my question to you. Because we really haven't talked about this. We've talked about the Giants' first half offense, fun. They were not fun in the second half. They didn't score a single second half point. They missed a field goal. So the Giants went 4 for 7 on third downs in the first half. They went 0 for 7 on third downs in the second half. And I initially thought that it was just Brian Dable getting really conservative and running the ball on early downs.
Not at all. The opposite, not at all. Honestly.
There was just a lot of incompletions on early downs. So do you have any thoughts before you watch the film and before you get to the film review? Do you have any thoughts on the Giants' discrepancy of offensive success in the first half to the second half?
Yeah, I don't have this is exactly what happened, but here's how those 7 drives end. A fumble. That's bad, right? Then you have the 2 deep passes to Neighbors on first and second down. The first one's a miss. Second one, corner makes a good play. And then you have the sack on the 2nd and 8. Yeah. Then you run and complete. Then the holding penalty on Bellinger, which that shit drives me nuts. Bellinger just kicked his ass, and they call it a penalty.
Yeah, you can't call a holding penalty because somebody is an ass kicker. He also flopped, too, in my opinion.
Yeah, he did flop. And then they go pass, and they don't get it. Then the next one they go pass, run, first down, pass, and then they miss the field goal at the end. So, in that one where they just ran, I agreed with that. Just run the clock out, kick a field goal. So it's basically 6 drives where they didn't do it, and you have some misses. They put Ward on Neighbors a little bit more, which Ward's a real deal corner. I don't have the exact reason why, besides just lack of I mean, lack of execution.
Yeah, I will say that's where not having an offense that isn't very explosive right now, we're just hurt, because that explosive Malik Neighbors play, I feel like that's a 20-yard play, and the odds of you scoring when you get a 20-plus yard play on a drive, it increases exponentially. So that's where that hurts.
Yeah. Let's talk about the defense. How about that?
Hell yeah.
Giants blitzed. They whipped ass. They had 8 sacks, 4 QB hits, 19 pressures total for the team. I mean, they brought it, right? For Shane Bowen being the don't blitz guy, which he doesn't blitz, he fucking blitzed in this game. They blitz over 50% of the time versus the Browns, Justin. And Watson sucks. That's the other thing. Watson just sucks. But hey, when you play quarterbacks that suck, don't make it easy for them. But Watson versus the blitz was 7 of 18, 80 yards, 1 touchdown, then was sacked 5 times. They just brought it with different looks. They were stunting guys up front. And that's the other thing. The Browns O-line is just banged up and awful. So they were having miscommunications and just guys flat out losing. But it starts with Dexter Lawrence. I mean, he was unblockable once again. He had 2 sacks, 2 hits, and 4 pressures. I mean, as good as the total numbers were, he was over 25% of their pass rush production, right? Like, you think about all the guys that got in on it, Justin, yeah, Dexter Lawrence was still over 25% of that.
Well, that's what we expect, right? That James Franco meme where they're all about to get hung with ropes around their necks?
Yes, I do know that meme.
Where I felt like James Franco telling the people next to me, hey, first time where the Browns have guards that are playing tackles and they're down to their third stringers, and again, people playing out of position. It's like, hey, first time.
Yeah, I'm not. I ain't feeling bad for you, motherfuckers, after what I went through last year.
Yeah, man. So here, let's go through the sacks, and this is according to the NFL game book. The Giants had 8 sacks. Dexter Lawrence had 2 of them. Elijah Chapman, Azeez Ojulari, Brian Burns, and Jason Pinnock all had 1. Kayvon Thibodeau, Bobby Okereke, Nacho, Micah McFadden all had half a sack. And according to Doug Analytics, this is a fun one. The Giants defense recorded 17 QB hits against Deshaun Watson and the Browns. That's tied for the second most of the games since 1999. 3 games have 18 QB hits, and the Cowboys also recorded 17 hits against the Browns in week 1. So between the offensive line issues and Deshaun Watson being a statue, the Cleveland Browns are going through it right now, but I'm happy that the Giants very much took advantage of it. It kind of feels like they could have taken advantage of it even more, to be honest, but that's pretty damn good.
Oh, dude, there was some cool looks they did. There's a 3rd down that I want to bring up. I'm going to do a film breakdown on once the film's up, Justin. In fact, I might have you do it because you have the Plus Premium.
You got to find it. It's going to be up I'm going to get up at 6 a.m. The film's going to be there. I'm
going to ask you to send me that play. But it's the Pinnock 3rd down. It's Jason Pinnock's sack on 3rd down. This really is a great design. So they motion the tight end, and Pinnock follows him across the formation like he's in man coverage, right? Follows him across the formation like he's in man coverage. Tyler Nubin's deep. Dane Belton's in at that dime linebacker, right? So they say, okay, that's man coverage. We're not worried about that guy as a rusher. But he's right next to the left tackle, basically. They got a four guys down. Instead, Pinnock actually blitzes, right? So they're not accounting for him blitzing. So he's a free rusher. You have they play man coverage. Nubin comes down and takes on Jason Pinnock's receiver in man coverage, and then Dane Belton bails to the middle of the field to play cover 1, and Pinnock gets that sack. Like, a lot of it was just being better than them, right? There's going to be some cool scheme stuff that I'll highlight, but a lot of it was simply them being better. Like, they did well in man coverage. We'll talk about the times where they weren't, Deontay Banks and Cordell Flott. And then they got after the passer, right? They won their one-on-ones. They stunted them a lot. But they did throw a lot of blitzes at them, and they got home. Brian Burns had the strip sack that, led to 7 at the end of the half. That's a game-changing play. That's what you get him for. That's what you need consistently out of Brian Burns. You don't need to strip sack every time. Kayvon Thibodeau had wins and created for others. And then, like the guys up front won, and the blitzes got home. Like the non-edge D-line guys, the guys who blitz, they had 3-6, 2 hits, and 5 pressures, right? So they accounted for, almost a third of the pressure.
How about Azeez Ojulari? He's in the backfield on run plays, and
he can still bend the edge.
he's in the backfield on a lot of these sacks and QB hits and negative plays that the Giants had. So I was even happy for Azeez Ojulari, as much as Brian Burns is going to get the headlines, and rightfully so. I mean, that strip sack that he had is just give me that shit where he just grabs his arms, attacks the shoulders of Deshaun Watson, and he goes flying, man. It was like they're throwing him around like a rag doll. So that's awesome stuff. This is what, you grow up watching Giants football. This is what it's about. Dexter Lawrence just being the presence that he is from the interior just changes everything, because that's Giants have not had somebody like that in their kind of in their history. Hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
They haven't had the greatest nose tackle ever in their history.
No, they have not. They have not. So it just changes everything. So cool to see. I love it. I want more.
Yeah. So what will be interesting is when they face a good QB this week in Dak Prescott, because that's when it gets different. Because like Deshaun Watson's awful, right? And guys didn't win versus man coverage. And when they did, they lost for the most part. Or the Giants had some losses there. We'll talk about Deontay Banks in a minute. That's when it'll really see. It's like, are you willing to play like this versus Dak Prescott? Because I feel like you should, because you don't have the guy. And that's the other thing, like the run defense, right? Like they held their running backs to 42 yards on 12 carries. Why the Browns only handed the ball off 12 times? Another thing that's kind of surprising. I don't care what the score was. Like you probably should have had more handoffs than that. This is what they've done with Deshaun Watson. This is just what they've done. And the other thing is they just can't. But they can't block. Like they just, like you said, their offensive line isn't very good. Wills gets injured. Conklin was out. Wyatt Teller got injured. They're putting Patino at left tackle. Like it was a mess, but the Giants took advantage of that mess. Elijah Chapman got involved as a pass rusher. How do you like that? That was a legit sack. Good for him. Yeah, and he had other plays too. Like he was actually making plays as a pass rusher. It wasn't just the sack play. So it was just everybody was getting involved in it. But we need to see that more consistently out of that group, because that's how the Giants can win game with the back end that they have. But credit to Shane Bowen for blitzing, actually throwing some disguised looks and not just little, basic safety rotation stuff, which was the gripe after the first two games. They actually threw a lot at Deshaun Watson, which is what you should have done the last week versus the Commanders, instead of, just hoping they'd screen until they got off the field. That's what they did, and they went after it. But I'm excited to break down some defensive film this week. So I'm of the belief, and I'm of the opinion that you have Micah McFadden, that's an aggressive linebacker. Bobby O'Hara can get after it too. You have a guy like Isaiah Simmons, who, when he's out there, he can get after it as a blitzer too. I feel like with this front, if you're going to be asking Kayvon Burns, Dex is not part of this, but I feel like if you're just going to be asking the Giants, I don't think they are a team that could just rush four, and be like, all right, we're going to be. No, because they'll chip you, because they don't worry about your coverage. They'll chip you, and Burns and Kayvon are two ends who, as much as they had good games today, chips basically eliminate them. Right. So I do think they should be a team that is aggressive and brings the party to the quarterback. I think that should continue. And I hope this isn't just obviously it is going to have to depend on a week-by-week basis, but I hope this isn't just a Deshaun Watson game plan. I hope we see this more. Yeah. But man, Watson is just fucking off. Very bad. Very bad. Do you want to talk about the Banks and flawed and all that? Well, first, how many sacks is Jason Pinnock on pace for? He's on pace for 17 sacks this year. That is correct. I should have even asked you this too. How many? Tell me Malik Neighbors is on pace stats too. Let's get this all out of the way. I tweeted that. Hold on. I know. That's why I'm going to ask you. Pull it up. Does he have 23 catches or 25? I think he has 25, right? Yeah. Right? How many is he on pace for? He's on pace. Oh, he has 23 catches. He's on pace for 141 catches, 1,547 yards, and 17 touchdowns. Is that good? He's not on pace for 0 touchdowns anymore, like we talked about in week 1. Is that good? That actually is pretty good. How many sacks does Dexter Lawrence have? He has 3 now, right? No, I think he only got credited for 1, correct? No, according to the game book, what I tweeted out, he got credit for 2, so he has 3 on the year. Okay, so yeah, he's on pace for 17 sacks.
Hell yeah. All right, that's it for now.
All right, that's it for now.
That's it for now.
Justin, why don't you talk to us about something, and then we'll talk about banks and something else that's really juicy that you guys don't want to miss.
Speaking of juicy, today's episode of Talking Giants is brought to you by AG1. AG1 is a foundational nutrition supplement that delivers daily nutrients and gut health support and is backed by multiple research studies so you can trust what you're putting in your body. AG1, daily self-care for me. It's one of the first things I try and put on my body. I'm trying to take care of my body a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? I try and start my day out with AG1. They contain prebiotics. It contains prebiotics, probiotics, gut-supporting ingredients to support your digestion and reduce bloating. In a research study, 80% of participants noticed less gas and bloating after 30 days of drinking AG1. Get out of here, gas. No one likes you. So start with AG1 and notice the difference for yourself. It's a great first step to investing in your health. And that's why we're so excited to be partnering with them. Try AG1 and get a free bottle of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase at drinkag1.com/giants. That's a $48 value for free if you go to drinkag1.com/giants. Check it out and you'll be glad you did.
You'll be glad you did. Kidding, 3 picks in 3 weeks. Are you worried? Are you #worried about Deonte Banks?
I mean, it's the same thing that we've been talking about almost since he's been drafted, but the same thing that we've been talking about this summer. Turn your head and make a play on the football for the love of God. Turn your head.
Now, the comforting part is like I've seen bad first-round corners, and they're just getting smoked, and that's not Banks.
He's not.
Talk about the slant in the end zone. I think that's a bad situation to put any corner in against Cooper. You're like, oh, well, he had inside leverage. Well, when you have inside leverage that is so clear inside leverage and you're on an island, it actually hurts you because when you're lined up so inside, you got to fucking go if he breaks out. So you're almost like it's like, you know, maybe I'll break it down on the film review.
Let's talk through that touchdown because this is my mentality. Let me know if I'm wrong from a football standpoint. Because this is now twice, the Justin Jefferson touchdown and the Amari Cooper touchdown, where I feel like it's like, okay, here's the pre-snap read, we're giving you the touchdown. I am asking my cornerback one to press up on these guys, even if you're not shooting your hands at the line of scrimmage and we're getting physical at the line, I'm at least inviting that press coverage because what I feel like that will say is get close to the line of scrimmage because I'm trying to cut off you going to the inside. I want to. Hey, if you beat me on this fade, okay, go up and throw the fade and try and make that high leverage, high difficulty throw on the fade. But if you're playing off and if you're giving cushion, you're just giving them the easy in and the easy slant, right?
Yeah,
that's my thought process.
I agree. And so it was like, well, he had such inside leverage. When you're playing off like that, and like I don't believe in giving. In a situation like that, just clear leverage unless you are protecting from the other side of that, right? Which would actually be like going to play with a little outside leverage, and we have someone dropping back to protect the inside, so you can't just get an easy throw. All right, you're at least going to have to throw it into the second window if you're going to throw this inside. But so you're like, oh well, he's got the inside leverage. That actually hurts you because, like I said, if he breaks out, if he runs like a 3-yard speed out. Well, you got to get on your horse and go, and you're not really in that spot. So as soon as Cooper, on his release, throws a foot fake out to the left, you got to get out and move, and now you've lost that. To me, it's counterintuitive. You've lost that leverage, and you're giving that easy pass. Now, Banks, besides that play, has to be better. You can't give that touchdown first play of the game. There was multiple other plays, where he, gives up, catches and, where he's tight in covers, and there's other just regular plays. Yeah, Banks has to be better. Like, he looks like he belongs in the NFL as a cornerback too. Right now, he is not a cornerback one in the NFL. And with the state of the other Giants corners, that's not a good situation to be on a week-to-week basis.
I think he got credit for the pass deflection to end the game where Cedric Tillman dropped the ball, but Cedric Tillman dropped the ball. That was not I don't put that down as a pass deflection.
There's another play where he had a pass breakup. I think it was actually on Jordan Akins. But yeah,
right. Oh, yeah, that was towards the end of the game too.
Yeah, he's got to be better. And then Flott was, targeted 6 times, 6 completions, 51 yards. Here's what did Adoree Jackson get injured?
He did.
Because he only played in 12 coverage snaps, and then Art Green, the practice squad call-up, played in 10.
He got hurt. I think Jordan tweeted that out.
Oh, okay. So I must have missed that because Adoree should be ramped up at this point. Now, Flott started anyways. Adoree needs to be starting over Cordell Flott if he's healthy.
I will say, though, dude.
And then Drew Phillips got injured, too.
I can't speak for Cordell Flott and how he did like full-on coverage-wise. I know there were some catches underneath that he allowed. Cordell Flott was pretty physical. And he made some nice tackles today. And that kind of did surprise me.
He did. He also missed a couple, too, though.
I know he missed a couple, but...
I understand the bar is low for him, but, he shouldn't be out there starting.
There was one play where I was like, oh, my God, am I seeing this? Where it was Azeez Ojulari, DJ Davidson, and Cordell Flott all involved in stopping a play. I'm like, am I seeing this?
He had also another nice run tackle, but he missed a couple of times. Again, it's not about Flott. It's about them putting him out there. So, that's the negatives and the defense. But hey, it's Victory Monday. I want to finish with one other thing because this happened since the last time we recorded. The Jalen Hyatt, saying in a practice they want to trade, that news finally came out. You thought that they'd involve him a little more today. They did throw him a deep post, but he only had 6 routes that he got to run today. I know and again, Slayton's stats he hasn't been getting any volume through the first 2 weeks. It is Neighbors, then Wan'Dale, then Slayton. Everyone's going, we got to play Hyatt. No, you don't. No, you don't. Hyatt needs to go out there and prove it. And again, I'm not sitting here saying he's not demanding a trade anymore. He said it in a practice while frustrated, but he did say that, right? People trying to deny that, it's just, it's, fingers in your ears, Dumb and Dumber, la, 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 can't hear you. It did happen. But I'm not worried about Hyatt being unhappy. I'm worried about putting the best team out there and fuck development. You develop, right? You don't develop by just going out there and playing. For Hyatt to be out there, and this is, this can be blame on the front office for drafting him and Hyatt himself. But the reason he's not playing are the reasons why he went in the 3rd round in the first place in the draft. I'm not going to sit here and shed tears because Slayton's playing over him. Slayton's better than him, right? And then this idea oh, well, we should trade Slayton to play Hyatt. Why? So you guys think Slayton is so useless that you should trade him for a day 3 pick, or he's not worth bringing back on a reasonable contract, right? He's not worth bringing back for the guy who's not better than him, right? So it doesn't make sense to me. So Hyatt, develop your game. Get better. When you are on the field, take advantage. Hopefully DJ hits you on some deep shots. But right now, that's what he is. He's a deep or nothing type of receiver.
Yeah. They get hit it perfectly. He's get better, bro.
Yeah. So this idea that he's been doing this grave injustice, no, he's not. He's on a team. He was drafted to a team that had Slayton at wide receiver 1. A year later, they drafted Malik Neighbors.
I think there's 2 sides of it where I think he should be involved a little bit more because I do think this offense should be trying to throw the ball downfield more. That's the opposite side of it. But if he's legit just not better than Darius Slayton, then he shouldn't be playing over Darius Slayton.
Yeah. Agreed. And the issue's still there even if he is involved a little more. But, it's hard to be like, oh, well, you're the deep threat guy. Because then teams know what you're freaking doing. Now, I do think there's value to putting him on the field for a handful of snaps. I'm surprised he's not playing as much as he is. But it's also probably the Giants, pushing back a little bit on you're gonna say you're gonna be a guy who's gonna try and spread discontent. You're gonna be the guy. Because we just won't put you on the field if you're going to be the guy.
The 4th best wide receiver on the team. You're going to try and
you don't get to be the guy that spreads discontent and plays. because it does spread discontent. Like he has friends on the team, you know. So I mean that's where it is. The idea that it's just all made up to me is nuts. It's like a fact.
No, but I'm rooting for him to go out there and
hit it, catch
win.
a deep pass. I'm freaking excited for it. Make teams start respecting that win. Like it adds value to the Giants. I hope we see it on Thursday night, right? So I'm not sitting here saying don't play him at all, but the idea that we have to let him play over Slayton is nuts to me.
You know that I think there's a line. Like I think the line is, I think Jalen Hyatt should be getting more than 6 snaps a game. But then also the other line is, let's not go too far in acting like he's better than Darius Slade. That's where I'm at.
Yep. All right. That's an episode. That's a victory episode. Justin, different schedule this week.
We won.
Because it's Thursday night preview, or Thursday night game. So we're going to go live on Wednesday night to preview the game. We'll have it out on the podcast app shortly after. We'll still have the O-line report and film review will come out on Tuesday, but we'll do the preview on Wednesday, and then we'll have a recap on Friday. So no mailbag this week.
Mailbag this week.
Then we'll do 2 episodes the following week because it's Thursday Night Football. Man, wouldn't it feel so freaking good to forget the first 2 games, beat the Cowboys on Thursday night, national TV, and just give a big old suck it? Wouldn't it feel good to Justin be to stay up till 1 a.m. to record a podcast and to be a victory podcast? That usually doesn't happen. So we'll see you then. Until then, let's go Big Blue.